Luna's crosshairs found their target 800 yards away. Her finger caressed the trigger as enemy soldiers moved toward the trapped SEAL team below. One shot could save 6 American lives. One miss could doom them all. But the last time she'd faced this choice, her spotter had died. Now, alone in the mountains, that haunting memory threatened to destroy everything. Before we dive into Luna's story, drop a comment below and let me know where you're watching from today. Are you a fellow veteran? Let's honor our heroes together. Now, let me take you back to where it all began. The wind cut through Luna's jacket as she adjusted her rifle's scope. 3 days alone on this mountain, watching empty valleys through crosshairs. She preferred it this way now. No chatter on the radio. No one asking questions. Just her, the rifle, and silence. A hawk circled overhead, its cry echoing off the rocks. Luna tracked it through her scope out of habit. 800 yards. Easy shot. Marcus would have made some joke about hunting dinner. But Marcus wasn't here anymore. She lowered the rifle and checked her watch. 1,400 hours. 2 more hours until her relief shift. 2 more hours of watching nothing happen in a war zone that felt like a graveyard. The radio crackled. Phantom 6, this is base. Status report. Luna keyed the mic. Phantom 6. All quiet. Nothing to report. Copy that. How you holding up out there? The question hung in the air. How was she holding up? She hadn't slept more than 3 hours straight in 2 months. She ate MREs cold because cooking fires drew attention she didn't want. She talked to no one except for radio checks. Fine, base. Phantom 6 out. She clicked off before they could ask more questions. Questions led to conversations. Conversations led to connections. Connections got people killed. Luna pulled out a photo from her vest pocket. Marcus grinned back at her, his arm thrown around her shoulders after their first successful mission together. They'd been a team for 18 months. He spotted targets. She took the shots. They saved lives. You got the steadiest hands I ever seen, Marcus had told her that first day. But more than that, you got the heart for this work. That's what makes a real sniper. She folded the photo and put it away. Heart. Right. Where had her heart been when it mattered most? The memory came back like it always did. That rooftop in the city. Enemy fighters moving through the market below. Civilians everywhere. Marcus calling out distances and wind readings. 300 yards. Wind from the east at 5 knots. Target is the one in the blue shirt, Luna. You see him. She'd seen him. Clear as day through her scope. The man with the rocket launcher aimed at the convoy of American vehicles moving through the street. I see him. Whenever you're ready. Clean shot. Her finger had found the trigger. Everything perfect. Distance calculated. Wind accounted for. Target acquired. Then the children had run into the street. 3 kids chasing a soccer ball, laughing and shouting. Right into her line of fire. Luna, you need to take the shot. Now. She'd hesitated. Just for a second. Waiting for the kids to clear. The explosion came from behind them. Not the target she'd been watching. A second fighter they hadn't seen. Marcus jerked forward, blood spreading across his chest. Marcus. She dropped her rifle and crawled to him. His eyes found hers as she pressed her hands against the wound. Should have taken the shot, he whispered. You had him. I couldn't. The kids. You had him, Luna. Trust yourself next time. Those were his last words. Trust yourself. Luna blinked and found herself back on the mountain. Her hands were shaking. They always shook when she remembered. She clenched them into fists until they stopped. The radio erupted with static and voices. Emergency frequencies. Multiple units talking at once. Mayday, mayday. This is Neptune 7. We are pinned down and taking heavy fire. Request immediate sniper support. Luna's blood went cold. Neptune 7. SEAL team. Neptune 7, this is base. What's your location? Grid reference 4-2-7-8-9-1. We're in a compound, 2 stories, lots of cover for hostiles. We've got wounded and low ammunition. Luna looked at her map. The grid reference was 12 kilometers south. Rough terrain, but she could get there. Base, this is Phantom 6. I copy Neptune 7's traffic. I can provide overwatch. Silence on the radio. Then, Phantom 6, you're not equipped for team support. Hold your position. Base, I'm the closest sniper asset. Those boys need help. Phantom 6, you work solo operations only. That's by your own request. Stay in position. Luna stared at the radio. Solo operations. Her own request. After Marcus died, she'd asked to work alone. No more spotters. No more teams depending on her. No more chances to let someone down when it mattered. But now a SEAL team was trapped. Americans were dying while she sat on a mountain watching empty valleys. The radio crackled again. Base, this is Neptune 7. We need help now. They're massing for another assault. Luna closed her eyes and heard Marcus's voice. Trust yourself. She opened her eyes and reached for the radio. Luna's finger hovered over the radio transmit button. Below in the valley, smoke rose from the direction of the SEAL team's coordinates. She could hear the distant pop of gunfire carried on the wind. Base, this is Neptune 7. Situation critical. We have 2 wounded and are running low on ammunition. The voice on the radio sounded young. Too young. Luna pictured a kid barely out of training, trapped in a firefight with his team depending on him. Neptune 7, what's your tactical situation? We're in a 2-story building, concrete construction. Hostiles have us surrounded on 3 sides. They've got heavy weapons and are moving closer. We need immediate extraction or fire support. Luna studied her map. The compound was in a valley with high ground on all sides. Perfect for a sniper. She could set up on the ridge and cover their escape route. Easy shots from 800 yards. Her hands started shaking again. Base copies, Neptune 7. Stand by for orders. The radio went quiet except for static. Luna knew what Base was thinking. No available assets. The nearest air support was 30 minutes out. Ground troops were engaged elsewhere. The SEALs were on their own. She grabbed her binoculars and scanned the southern valley. Through the haze, she could see muzzle flashes. The compound was a small cluster of buildings surrounded by open ground. Nowhere to run. Nowhere to hide. Base, this is Neptune 7. They're setting up for another assault. We can see at least 20 hostiles moving to our north wall. 20 hostiles. Luna had faced worse odds. But that was with Marcus calling out targets and watching her back. Now she worked alone for a reason. The memory hit her again. Marcus bleeding out while she held him. His voice getting weaker. You had the shot, Luna. Should have taken it. She shook her head to clear the image. Focus on now. Focus on the mission. Neptune 7, this is Base. Air support is 25 minutes out. Can you hold? Negative, Base. We won't last 10 minutes. One of our wounded is in bad shape. We need help now. Luna keyed her mic. Base, this is Phantom 6. I can be in position in 15 minutes. I can provide overwatch for their extraction. Long pause. Then, Phantom 6, you're not authorized for team support operations. Base, those boys are going to die without help. Phantom 6, maintain your current position. That's an order. Luna stared at the radio. An order. She'd been following orders for 15 years. Orders kept soldiers alive. Orders prevented mistakes. Orders would let 6 Americans die in a valley 12 kilometers away. The gunfire in the distance grew heavier. Automatic weapons now. The assault had begun. Base, this is Neptune 7. Contact. We're taking heavy fire on all sides. Johnson's been hit. We need immediate assistance. The young voice cracked with stress. Luna closed her eyes and saw Marcus again. Saw his blood on her hands. Heard his dying words about trust. Base, Neptune 7. They've breached the outer wall. We're falling back to the second floor. 2 minutes until they overrun our position. 2 minutes. Luna grabbed her rifle and pack. Her commanding officer could court-martial her later. Right now, Americans were dying. She keyed the radio. Neptune 7, this is Phantom 6. I'm moving to support. Give me your exact position in the compound. Phantom 6, northwest corner, second floor. But Base said, forget Base. How many hostiles can you see? At least 30 now. They're using the outer buildings for cover. We can't get clear shots. 30 hostiles. Luna slung her rifle over her shoulder and started down the mountain. The terrain was rough, but she knew these hills. 15 minutes if she moved fast. Neptune 7, I'll be on the ridge to your east. When I'm in position, I'll call your radio. Be ready to move on my signal. Roger, Phantom 6. We'll be ready. Luna's boots slipped on loose rocks as she half ran, half slid down the slope. Her radio crackled with bass calling her designation. She turned it down. Orders were for soldiers sitting in safe bunkers. She had Americans to save. The distant gunfire stopped. Either the SEALs were dead, or they were saving ammunition for the final assault. Luna pushed herself harder, branches tearing at her jacket. Marcus's voice echoed in her memory. Trust yourself, Luna. Time to find out if she still could. Luna's boots hit the valley floor after 20 minutes of hard movement. Her lungs burned from the altitude and pace, but the gunfire ahead kept her moving. Through the trees, she could see smoke rising from the compound. She checked her radio. Static and distant voices. The SEALs were still alive, but barely holding on. Neptune 7, this is Phantom 6. I'm 300 meters from your position. Status. Phantom 6, we're still here. They pulled back after the last assault, but they're regrouping. Maybe 10 minutes before they hit us again. 10 minutes. Luna studied the terrain ahead. Open ground for the last 200 meters to the ridge overlooking the compound. She'd be exposed, but it was the only position with clear fields of fire. She started moving, staying low and using the scattered boulders for cover. 50 meters out, she heard voices. Enemy voices. Luna dropped flat behind a rock. Two fighters walked past, talking in low tones. They carried AK-47s and moved like they knew the ground. Local militia, probably. They knew where the Americans were trapped. The fighters stopped 30 meters away. One pointed toward the compound and spoke rapidly. The other nodded and pulled out a radio. Luna couldn't let them call in her position. She drew her sidearm and waited. The fighters split up. One headed back toward their lines. The other walked straight toward her hiding spot. 20 meters. 15. 10. Luna rose from behind the rock. Drop your weapon. The fighter spun around, raising his rifle. Luna fired twice center mass. He dropped without a sound. She dragged the body behind the boulder and checked her surroundings. Clear. But the other fighter would notice his partner missing soon enough. Luna slung her rifle and started climbing toward the ridge. Her hands found holds in the rocky face, her boots scraping against stone. Just like training, except people were dying while she climbed. The ridge was a narrow shelf of rock with perfect visibility over the compound. Luna set up her rifle on its bipod and adjusted the scope. The compound lay 800 meters below. Perfect range. Through her scope, she could see the situation clearly now. The SEALs held the second floor of the main building. Enemy fighters used the outer structures and walls for cover, at least 40 of them. They'd surrounded the building completely. Neptune 7, this is Phantom 6. I'm in position on the eastern ridge. I can see your building. Roger, Phantom 6. We can see muzzle flashes from your direction. Are you engaging? Not yet. I count 40 hostiles in your compound. They're massed for another assault. Luna swept her scope across the compound. The enemy had heavy weapons. RPGs, machine guns. The SEALs didn't stand a chance in a direct fight. A group of fighters moved toward the main building, using a low wall for cover. Luna adjusted her scope and found the leader. Range, 780 meters. Wind from the west at 8 knots. Easy shot. Her finger found the trigger. Through the scope, she could see the fighter's face. Young, maybe 20 years old. Someone's son. Luna's hands started shaking. The crosshairs wavered off target. She closed her eyes and heard Marcus. Don't think about who they are, Luna. Think about who you're saving. She opened her eyes and reacquired the target. The fighter was pointing at the main building, giving orders to his men. In 30 seconds, they'd be in assault position. Luna controlled her breathing. In. Hold. Out. Hold. The shaking stopped. She squeezed the trigger. The shot echoed across the valley. Through her scope, Luna saw the fighter drop. His men scattered, looking for cover. Nice shot, Phantom 6. That was their assault leader. Luna worked the bolt and found another target. A fighter with an RPG setting up behind a concrete barrier. Range, 810 meters. She fired again. The fighter spun and fell, the RPG launcher clattering across the ground. Outstanding. You just took out their heavy weapons. But Luna was already looking for the next threat. And the next. Her training took over. Acquire target. Calculate range and wind. Fire. Work the bolt. Find the next target. She'd fired 8 shots in 2 minutes. 8 fighters down. The enemy force was pulling back from the main building, taking cover in the outer structures. Phantom 6. They're retreating. We might be able to make a break for the extraction point. Luna scanned the compound through her scope. The enemy had pulled back, but they hadn't left. They were repositioning. Getting ready for something else. Movement caught her eye. Fighters moving through the outer buildings, working their way around behind her position. They'd figured out where she was shooting from. Neptune 7, you need to move now. They're flanking my position. Roger. We're moving in 30 seconds. Luna looked back toward her escape route. 3 fighters climbing up the slope toward her. Maybe 5 minutes before they reached her position. She keyed her radio. Neptune 7, I've got company coming. You better move fast. The shot echoed across the valley. Luna had just announced her presence to every enemy fighter in the area. There was no turning back now. Luna grabbed her rifle and rolled left as bullets cracked over her head. The fighters had found her position faster than expected. She crawled behind a larger boulder as more shots rang out. Phantom 6, we're moving to the extraction point. What's your status? Luna keyed her radio while staying low. Neptune 7, I'm taking fire from multiple positions. Keep moving. Don't wait for me. Negative, Phantom 6. We don't leave anyone behind. You will if you want to live. Move now. Luna peered around the boulder. 3 fighters were climbing toward her from the south. 2 more approached from the east. They had her trapped on the narrow ridge. She needed to relocate, but first she had to clear the path for the seals. Through her scope, she could see the team moving across the compound's courtyard. Enemy fighters were repositioning to cut them off. Luna found her target. A fighter with a machine gun setting up in a window overlooking the courtyard. Range, 820 meters. Difficult shot from her current angle, but doable. She steadied her rifle against the rock and fired. The fighter tumbled backward into the room. Good shot, Phantom 6. Path is clear. But Luna's muzzle flash had given away her exact position. Bullets sparked off the rocks around her. She grabbed her gear and started moving along the ridge, staying below the crest line. Behind her, she could hear boots on stone. The enemy fighters were getting closer. Their voices carried on the wind as they coordinated their search. Luna found a new position 50 meters north. A narrow gap between 2 boulders with a view of the compound. The SEALs were halfway to the extraction point, but more enemy fighters were moving to intercept them. She set up quickly and found her next target. A fighter with an RPG taking aim at the retreating SEALs. Luna fired without hesitation. The fighter dropped, but the sound of her shot brought immediate return fire. There. On the ridge. Northwest position. Luna cursed under her breath. They'd triangulated her new location. She had maybe 30 seconds before they zeroed in on her. Through her scope, she saw 3 fighters moving to flank the SEALs from the west. If she didn't stop them, the team would walk into an ambush. Luna ignored the bullets whining overhead and took careful aim. First target down. Second target down. The 3rd fighter dove for cover, but Luna tracked him and fired again. He didn't get up. Phantom 6, we're taking sniper fire from the ridge. Luna looked through her scope and saw the problem. Enemy fighters were shooting at the SEALs from positions she couldn't see from her angle. They were using the buildings for cover, firing around corners. She needed a better position. Higher ground to the north would give her the angle she needed, but it meant crossing 200 meters of open ridge line. The enemy fighters climbing toward her would see her moving. No choice. The SEALs needed cover fire. Luna slung her rifle and started running along the ridge, staying as low as possible. Bullets kicked up dust around her feet. She zigzagged between rocks, using every piece of cover. A fighter appeared ahead of her, rifle raised. Luna drew her sidearm without breaking stride and fired twice. The fighter spun and fell over the edge of the ridge. She reached the new position, breathing hard. Through her scope, she could see the enemy fighters harassing the SEALs from covered positions. Now she had clear shots at all of them. Luna worked methodically. Acquire target. Fire. Work the bolt. Next target. Each shot bought the SEALs precious seconds to reach safety. Phantom 6, we're almost to extraction. 2 minutes out. Roger. Keep moving. But Luna's new position had exposed her to fire from multiple directions. Bullets were hitting the rocks around her from 3 different angles. The enemy had figured out her pattern and were closing the trap. She looked back along the ridge. At least 8 fighters were moving toward her position. More were climbing up from the valley floor. They'd cut off her escape routes. Luna made a quick decision. She couldn't fight them all, but she could create chaos. Give the SEALs time to escape and maybe find a way out for herself. She spotted a group of enemy fighters gathered around a truck in the compound, probably their command element. Range, 760 meters. Luna adjusted for wind and fired. The shot hit the fuel tank. The truck exploded in a ball of orange flame, sending fighters diving for cover. The explosion echoed through the valley like thunder. Holy hell, Phantom 6. What was that? Gift from above. Neptune 7. How much further to extraction? 1 minute. We can see the landing zone. Luna heard helicopters in the distance. The extraction bird was coming in fast and low. The SEALs would make it out. But she was running out of time and ammunition. The enemy fighters were only 100 meters away now, moving carefully from cover to cover. She could hear their leader shouting orders, coordinating the final assault on her position. Luna counted her remaining rounds. 4 in the rifle. 1 spare magazine. Enough to make them pay, but not enough to stop them all. She keyed her radio one last time. Neptune 7, I'm about to be overrun. Get to that bird and go home. Negative, Phantom 6. We're coming back for you. Like hell you are. That's an order. Luna clicked off the radio and checked her rifle. 4 rounds to change everything. 4 rounds to keep her promise to Marcus. The enemy fighters were 50 meters away and closing fast. Time for the impossible shot that would define everything. Luna pressed herself against the cold stone as enemy boots pounded past her hiding spot. Her rifle scope reflected a sliver of moonlight. 1 wrong move and she'd be discovered. Through the gap between rocks, she could see them spreading out. 12 fighters moving in a coordinated sweep. They knew exactly where she was hiding. It was only a matter of minutes before they found her. Her radio crackled softly. Phantom 6, this is Neptune 7. We're at the extraction point. Bird is inbound. 2 minutes. Luna keyed her mic quietly. Roger. Get out of here. Not without you. Give us your position. Negative. Too many hostiles. Go home to your families. She turned off the radio before they could argue. The SEALs had done their job. 6 Americans would go home tonight because she'd kept them alive. That had to be enough. Luna checked her rifle. 4 rounds in the magazine. 1 spare mag with 8 rounds. 12 rounds against 12 fighters. The math was simple and brutal. A voice shouted orders in the local dialect. The fighters were tightening their circle. Luna could hear them moving through the rocks above and below her position. Soon they'd have her surrounded completely. She thought about Marcus. About that rooftop where everything went wrong. About the shot she didn't take because children were in the street. About holding him as he died. You had the shot, Luna. Should have taken it. But she had taken it tonight. Multiple times. She'd saved the SEALs when it mattered. Maybe that was enough to balance the scales. Movement to her left. A fighter crept between the boulders, rifle ready. 20 meters away. He hadn't seen her yet, but he would in seconds. Luna raised her rifle slowly. Through her scope, she could see his face clearly. Young. Maybe Marcus's age when he died. Someone who would never go home to his family. Her finger found the trigger. Easy shot. Point-blank range. But if she fired, the others would know exactly where she was. The fighter turned toward her hiding spot. Luna fired. The fighter dropped without a sound. Immediately, voices erupted around her. They'd heard the shot. Boots ran across stone as the remaining fighters converged on her position. Over here. She's in the rocks. Luna chambered another round and moved to a new position. 3 rounds left. 11 fighters remaining. She could hear helicopters now. The extraction bird was close. The SEALs would be boarding soon. Her job was almost done. A fighter appeared above her, silhouetted against the stars. Luna fired upward. He tumbled down the slope and didn't move. 2 rounds left. 10 fighters. There. Muzzle flash from the center rocks. Bullets sparked off stone around her. Luna crawled deeper into the boulder field, looking for the shot that would matter most. The shot that would let the SEALs escape clean. Through a gap in the rocks, she could see the compound below. The helicopter was landing at the extraction point. Small figures ran toward it in the darkness. The SEALs were boarding, but enemy fighters were shooting at the helicopter from the compound. If they hit the bird, everyone would die. Luna found the threat. A fighter with an RPG, taking aim at the helicopter from a rooftop. Range, 900 meters. Uphill shot. Wind gusting from multiple directions. Moving target as the helicopter lifted off. The impossible shot. Just like the one she'd missed when Marcus died. Her hands started shaking. Through her scope, she could see the fighter raising the RPG. The helicopter was a sitting duck, overloaded with passengers and climbing slowly. Trust yourself, Luna. Marcus's voice, clear as day. Not a memory this time. Something else. Luna controlled her breathing. The shaking stopped. The crosshairs settled on the fighter's center mass. 900 meters of mountain air between her rifle and the target. Everything else faded away. The voices of the fighters hunting her. The sound of the helicopter. The fear in her chest. There was only the target, the trigger, and the promise she'd made to herself. She squeezed the trigger. The shot echoed across the valley. Through her scope, Luna saw the fighter with the RPG jerk backward and fall. The rocket launcher clattered off the roof and exploded harmlessly in the courtyard below. The helicopter cleared the ridge and disappeared into the darkness. The SEALs were safe. Luna chambered her last round and turned to face the fighters closing in around her. 10 of them against her final bullet. The math hadn't changed, but something else had. She wasn't the same sniper who'd hesitated on that rooftop. She wasn't the broken soldier who'd spent 2 months hiding on a mountain. She was the woman who'd just made an impossible shot to save 6 American lives. The fighters were shouting, moving through the rocks toward her. Luna checked her spare magazine. 8 rounds. Maybe enough to get out of this alive. Maybe not. Either way, she'd kept her promise to Marcus. She'd trusted herself when it mattered most. Luna's finger hovered over the trigger as Boots pounded closer. This was it. The same impossible shot that had broken her before. Marcus's voice seemed to whisper in the wind, "Trust yourself, Luna. You're the best I ever trained." Luna slammed her spare magazine into the rifle as voices surrounded her. The fighters were 20 meters away and closing fast. She could hear their leader barking orders, coordinating the final assault. 8 rounds. 10 fighters. Still impossible odds, but she'd made impossible shots before. The first fighter appeared through the rocks to her right. Luna swung her rifle and fired. He dropped instantly. 7 rounds left. 2 more came from her left flank. Luna worked the bolt and fired twice. Both fighters went down, but the second shot was hasty. She'd winged him, not killed him. She's in the center position. Surround her. 5 rounds left. At least 7 fighters still moving. Luna needed to break their coordination. Make them afraid instead of aggressive. She spotted their leader directing the assault from behind a large boulder. If she could take him out, the others might lose their nerve. The leader exposed himself for a split second, pointing toward her position. Luna fired without hesitation. The man spun and fell, clutching his shoulder. Wounded but alive. For rounds. The fighters were shouting in confusion now, their coordination broken. Luna used the chaos to move. She crawled through the rocks toward the ridge line, looking for better cover. Behind her, she could hear them arguing about who should take command. A fighter appeared directly above her, rifle pointed down. Too close to miss. Too close to survive. Luna rolled left and fired upward. The fighter's shot went wide as he tumbled backward into the rocks. 3 rounds. There. She's moving toward the cliff. They'd spotted her again. Luna reached the edge of the ridge and looked down. A 60-foot drop to the valley floor. Survivable if she was lucky. Deadly if she wasn't. But she wasn't ready to jump yet. The wounded fighter she'd winged earlier was crawling toward an abandoned rifle. If he reached it, he'd have a clear shot at her back. Luna took careful aim and fired. The fighter stopped moving. 2 rounds. She could hear boots on stone behind her. They were getting closer. A voice called out in accented English. American sniper. You are surrounded. Surrender and we will not harm you. Luna almost laughed. They wanted her alive. Probably for propaganda videos. She'd seen what happened to captured American soldiers in this war. No thanks, she called back. She fired at a fighter trying to flank her from the north. He dove for cover as her bullet cracked past his head. 1 round left. Luna counted voices. At least 5 fighters still active. 1 bullet against 5 men. The math was still impossible, but something had changed. She wasn't afraid anymore. The fear that had haunted her since Marcus died was gone. She'd made the shots that mattered. Saved the people who counted on her. Whatever happened next, she'd kept her promise. A fighter rushed her position from the south. Luna swung her rifle and fired her last round. The fighter dropped 10 feet away from her. Empty magazine. No spare ammo. 5 fighters still alive. Luna drew her sidearm and waited. But the expected assault didn't come. Instead, she heard a sound that made her heart jump. Helicopters. Multiple birds flying low and fast. This is Cavalry 6. American forces on the ridge, identify yourself. Luna grabbed her radio. Cavalry 6, this is Phantom 6. I'm on the eastern ridge taking fire from multiple hostiles. Roger, Phantom 6. We see your position. Keep your head down. The helicopters swept over the ridge like angry wasps. Chain guns opened up, sending streams of tracers into the rocks where the enemy fighters were hiding. The firing lasted 30 seconds. Then silence. Phantom 6, this is Cavalry 6. Area is secure. We're coming in for pickup. Luna sat back against a boulder, suddenly exhausted. Her hands were shaking again, but this time from relief, not fear. The helicopter landed 50 meters away. Marines jumped out and secured the area while a medic ran toward her position. You hit Phantom 6? Luna checked herself. Cuts and bruises from crawling through rocks. Nothing serious. I'm good. The medic helped her to her feet. Hell of a thing you did tonight. Those SEALs are singing your praises on every radio frequency. As they walked toward the helicopter, Luna looked back at the battlefield. She thought about Marcus. About the promise she'd made to him and to herself. About trust and redemption and the weight of impossible shots. Hey, Phantom 6. The Marine pilot called out as she climbed aboard. Command wants to know if you're interested in a new assignment. They've got a spotter school that needs an instructor. Luna settled into her seat as the helicopter lifted off. Through the open door, she watched the mountain fall away below them. For the first time in 2 months, she wasn't running from her past. Tell them I'm interested, she said. As the helicopter headed home, Luna closed her eyes and heard Marcus's voice one last time. Knew you had it in you, Luna. Always did. She smiled and whispered to the darkness. Promise kept, partner. Promise kept. Every veteran carries stories like Luna's. If this touched your heart, please like and subscribe to honor more heroes. Share a memory of someone who served in the comments below. Let's remember them together.